What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel, Mystic Watch, and today we got a new video for you. We're going to be doing a how to gear guide on both GOWTHER and Galland. If you guys haven't checked out my previous ones, I have a video where I go over how to gear Bond and how to gear Jericho. And I think the Jericho one is pretty important because it is different from majority of the units. GOWTHER and Galland are pretty straightforward, but either way, for people who are not sure, this video is for you guys. Before we get started, I haven't really done this. I always do it at the end of the video, but we got like 80% of the people watching me are not subscribed. I'd like to bring that number down. So if you guys enjoy the content, and please help out a poor Middle Eastern boy in his struggle to becoming the #1 hero, Deku-sama of Grand Cross. Please. Please. Okay, well, besides that, let's just get straight into the video. We're going to start off by, I don't have my Galland leveled up, but on JP, I do have him, full on, slouch, whatever he looks like, maxed out. He's not 80 because I don't use him anymore, but I have a decent amount of outfits on him. I bought everything at the time because I was a whale. And then for gear, okay. For gear, it's pretty straightforward, right? Let's actually go to global, where we can understand the language. Galland, we're going to take a look at the stats, because what ends up happening is a person's pretty much, depending on how their kit is set up, or how their stats are set up, is going to determine how you actually gear them. Now, if you are completely unsure of how to gear someone, you can always go the safe route and simply give them attack defense gear or HP defense gear, right? You'll never go wrong by doing that. And Galland is going to be using attack defense, but regardless, I want to go over his stats very quickly. You can see 30% pierce rate, okay. 20% resistance, okay. Crit chance is really low. 10% crit chance, crit damage is extremely low. Crit, pretty much that. Now, when you're looking at this, a key thing to look at is crit chance and crit damage, because that's what kind of determines whether a unit should be getting crit into their build or not. And I'm going to give you an example by taking a look at Arthur. Arthur is a unit where you can build him crit damage. You can build him with a little bit of crit damage and possibly some crit chance if you wanted to, because of the fact that he has very, very high stats when it comes to these specific things. That is an example of where looking at the stats are pretty important, because they help you determine if you want to build something else, right? Something that isn't the standard HP defense or attack defense. But in Galland's case, we're going to go with the standard, because none of his other stuff is so strong that it needs to be, emphasized even further. But for Galland, the best thing is attack defense, right? And you can see here, I don't have anything spectacular, just rare gear. And the percents I can all reroll. I have a billion gold now, but I have to start working on gear. I've been so lazy to work on gear. But you simply go the standard. And the standard is always attack defense for people who deal damage, HP defense for people who do not. And then for substats, you go for whatever the main stat is, you go for that, right? Attack on these two items up top, defense on these two middle items, and then HP on the bottoms. And as for percents, if you are using rare and below gear, ideally you would like 14%, minimum 13% for the percentages. And now it is a lot easier to get higher percentages, because you can go here, you can hit this repeated change button, and you can say, okay, look, I want an attack of 2.5%, and I want it to go an unlimited amount of times until I get it. And you just hit apply, and you hit repeated change, and that's it. It'll keep on doing it until... Okay, I don't care. This hammer sounds really annoying. It'll keep on doing it until it, goes to whatever amount you specified, or you choose to stop it on your own. So ideally, For percentages, you go about 14% if you can, right? 14% is the goal. It is kind of tough. That's why, at least on common gear, right, where the gold cost is significantly lower, you really want 14% on common. It's going to cost you some money, but common is the cheapest. Can't really afford to go lower because you're sacrificing a lot of main stat in order to use common gear. Now, if you're using SSR gear, you want to use anvils instead. And let's see, do I have any anvils? Let me swap over. I'll show off the SSR gear in a second when I go over to GOWTHER. But simple enough, attack, defense, and those are the percents. Very, very standard, and the nice thing about attack defense is it carries over to everyone, right? Doesn't matter what you're doing, you can just swap it off, put it on someone else who deals damage, and you're fine. Now, moving on to GOWTHER. GOWTHER, on the other hand, will be using HP defense. And the way you kind of determine this is you look at his skill set, right? What does GOWTHER do? Why do I use GOWTHER? Okay, so you take a look at this, and you're like, okay, AoE 120% damage, that's really not that much. Still 120%. Disables attack skills for 1 turn, 180%. Disables attack skills for 2 turns. Looking at the multipliers, these multipliers are so low that it's just not worth it at all to build him with attack. And an example would be taking a look at either Hauser or anyone else who has AoE. And you can see here that even though the first bronze card is lower than GOWTHER's, he has like more damaging effects on it. So he applies Pierce on this one, on these moves, and then on this one he applies Sever, which is 2 times crit chance. And that's pretty much what Hauser does. And for him, you specifically go attack damage because you want to do as much damage as you possibly can. But GOWTHER, simple enough, you don't care about his damage whatsoever. You care about him living because he is a nuisance if he survives for a long time. The constant attack skills, and especially the constant rank ups, right? He's a utility unit that requires nothing but sustain. That's all you need on him. And then of course, his ultimate, while it does do a lot of damage, I have him at 4/6 because I was pretty lucky when summoning for him. It does do a lot of damage. The ultimate alone does not justify you running something other than something other than HP defense. And another example of this is King, right? You don't run, even though King's ultimate, once you get a few dupes into him, is like a massive nuke that's gonna drop down from the heavens. You still don't run attack defense on him because it's just not worth it, right? HP defense is the way to go. This will still hit very, very hard, even without attack defense, so keep that in mind. GOWTHER's doesn't hit as hard as King, but as long as you get a couple of dupes in here, it hits. You know, it hits decently hard. But the main thing is more utility, right? Constantly depleting ultimate gauge from here, ranking up your own cards, and then this. Now, another build for GOWTHER, and this is a GOWTHER specific build, right? And this would be a PvE build. Specifically for PvE, is you run full defense on him. Meaning, instead of HP defense, you run everything defense. Just every single thing defense. Meaning you get 60% increase in defense rather than 20% HP and 20% defense. And the reason for this is specifically because of this move right here. Not a move, passive. Increases all allies' attack by 10% at the start of the next turn if the hero doesn't take damage. This ends up doing a lot more damage than you realize. And this matters for things like Guild Boss or Super Boss Battle when it comes out. Things that typically require you to score high. GOWTHER can take advantage of the fact that he can stack defense to the point where the enemies or the AI or whatever literally cannot do damage to you. That's how bad it gets, right? GOWTHER will take 0 damage. This doesn't tend to work on PvP, like it's just not really viable on PvP. You still get hit. Maybe if you're running like Cancer Comp and you got like full defense GOWTHER with you know, a Yo Thunder in the back that gives you, 30% more defense, and you got like a Merlin that's giving you barrier, something like that, then I can see this working out, right? But as of right now, this really is not that viable in PvP. I'm sure someone can make it work, but it's a lot of effort to do so. So that's another thing I wanted to keep in mind, is that the full defense strat is viable. So keep that in mind. And the only thing you would have to do is, you'd only want these two pieces the highest rarity, because you want as much defense as possible. You could run everything else rare gear, because even though you're running a defense set, none of these corner pieces actually give you defense. It's only the main two pieces in the middle that give you defense. So a common strategy on JP, for example, is you get these two SSR gear or UR gear once that comes out. You get these two pieces as UR gear, and then the other ones you can do whatever you want, and it doesn't matter. Now, I mentioned that I was going to talk about SSR gear very quickly, because you can see here that I rarely use SSR gear, and I'm pretty much at 140k CC. And although this is SSR gear, this is a crit damage and attack set. So the CC on this set is very low, because crit damage gives you very little to no CC contribution whatsoever. But going back to this is what I wanted. Okay. So here's an HP defense set that utilizes SSR gear. Now, the goal when using SSR gear is to first get SSR gear for the stat that matters most to your build. And by that I mean, because we are running HP defense, we want to go with the belt first, right? The belt will give you a massive amount of HP, and we'll actually compare it. So we're getting 12,298 from a maxed out... Where'd it go? Where's the other HP defense? And versus about 5,000 here. So we're getting 7,000 more HP defense off of that SSR piece. And it makes a humongous difference, right? Because of the fact that you're also getting, 20% more HP, so it stacks even further. You can see here that I'm almost at 100k HP without even, having like an assist unit on, just from raw stats over here. Eventually, you want to go, typically this is what I like to do, right? I will get these two pieces first, and then I'll go to the orb or the ring. And that will all depend on if I'm running an attack defense set or an HP defense set. So with Gowther, I'll go belt first, then bracelet, then orb, then ring. And the thing is, the reason why you don't care about the defense that much is because the defense, SSR gear versus rare gear, there's not as much of a difference when it comes to the main stat. And because of that, you focus on that last. These two pieces of gear you focus last. And that's really it. So hopefully that gave you guys some idea of how to gear your Gowther and your Galland. With SSR gear, just remember, you always want to be using anvils. You can get anvils from Guild Boss every single week, 50 from him as of right now, and you can get up to 100 a week from PvP if you finish in Champion on Elite or Geared PvP. So that is currently the two weekly ways you get that. So that's 150 anvils, and then beyond that, if you want to do gear summons, you can get anvils from there. And that's going to be it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, consider subscribing. I already said that in the beginning this time, but if you have not, I'd appreciate it if you did so, and I'll see you all next time. Peace out.